I died choking on my own blood in the back of a yellow cab. The driver's frantic screams fading into the screech of tires and the blare of horns on a rain-slicked Manhattan street. Betrayed by the man who'd sworn to build an empire with me, I watched my life flash not in regret, but in cold fury. The emails I'd drafted, the deals I'd sealed, all twisted into nooses around my neck by his lies. And then, like a glitch in the universe's shitty code, I woke up gasping in my old apartment. 3 years earlier, the alarm clock blinking 7:15 a.m. on the morning he was about to fire me for good. My name is Annabelle Hayes, and in my first life, I was the invisible architect of Sterling Venture's ironclad compliance framework, the rules that kept our fintech empire from crumbling under regulatory scrutiny. I poured my soul into those bylaws, late nights blurring into dawn with nothing but black coffee and a laptop screen's glow. Sterling was my baby, co-founded in a dingy Brooklyn loft with Marcus Hale, the golden boy of Wall Street who'd charmed investors with his Ivy League smile and promises of disrupting the game. We were equals once, or so I thought. Me handling the legal guts, him the flashy sales. But power corrupts, and Marcus? He was born rotten. That morning in my second chance, I stared at the ceiling of my pre-gentrified Williamsburg walk-up, the kind with exposed brick and a fridge that hummed like a dying bee. My heart hammered not from the cab crash, God, the irony of it all, rushing to a board meeting to beg for my job back after he'd already gutted it, but from the razor-sharp clarity of memory. I remembered the firing, his office, the 52nd floor overlooking the Hudson, the way he'd leaned back in his ergonomic throne, tossing my termination letter across the desk like yesterday's trash. Annabelle, it's not personal. The board thinks you're expendable. Lies. It was all lies to bury the fraud he'd been skimming for months. Offshore accounts funneled through shell companies I'd unknowingly helped legitimize with my compliance docs. I swung my legs off the bed, feet hitting the cold hardwood. The apartment smelled of stale takeout and ambition, just like before. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Marcus. Morning meeting at 9. Don't be late. Big news. Big news. Yeah, right. In my first timeline, that news was my pink slip, followed by whispers in the break room about my instability, leaks to the press painting me as the loose cannon who'd tanked a major client deal. It drove me to desperation. Pills washed down with bourbon, a frantic cab ride through the storm to confront him one last time. The crash? Officially an accident. Unofficially? Marcus had a way of making problems vanish. A anonymous tip to the cabbie about a shortcut through construction? Or just my own unraveling? Didn't matter now. I was back, and this time, I'd rewrite the ending. I dressed like armor. Tailored black pantsuit, the one I'd bought on sale at Macy's, heels that clicked with purpose on the subway stairs. The F train rattled toward Midtown, bodies packed like sardines, the air thick with the scent of coffee and commute dread. I scrolled through my phone, pulling up old emails, backups I'd foolishly deleted in my first life out of grief. There they were, time-stamped ghosts. My drafts of the compliance manual, the clauses on financial transparency that Marcus had edited post-signature, gutting the safeguards against exactly the embezzlement he was pulling. 6 figures siphoned to Cayman accounts, disguised as consulting fees. I discovered it too late, after the firing, when a whistleblower tip came anonymously. Me. But by then, I was radioactive, blacklisted from every firm in the city. Stepping off at 42nd Street, the wind whipped up from the East River, carrying the metallic tang of the city that had chewed me up. Sterling's tower loomed like a silver monolith, all glass and ego. Security nodded me through, still had my badge for now. The elevator hummed upward, floors ticking like a bomb. Floor 52. Ding. Marcus's assistant, Lena, a sharp-eyed redhead who'd later become his mistress, glanced up from her desk. Annabelle, he's expecting you. I forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach my eyes. Wouldn't miss it. Inside, my mind raced. Plan A. Play dumb, gather intel. Record everything. New York's a one-party consent state, thank God. I'd slip a tiny recorder into my bag, the one I'd bought from a sketchy vendor in Times Square last week. No, wait, that was First Life. Here, I had time. I'd order one en route, but for now, memory would have to do. Marcus's office was a shrine to excess. Walnut desk the size of a small car, walls lined with signed baseballs from Yankee greats. A bar cart stocked with single malt scotches that cost more than my rent. He rose as I entered, all 6'2" of him in a bespoke suit that screamed old money. "Bell, come in, grab a seat." His grin was wolfish, eyes crinkling just enough to feign warmth. In my first life, I'd melted for that charm. Now, it made my stomach turn. We small talked, the latest crypto dip, the board's push for IPO. Then he leaned forward, elbows on the desk. "Look, Annabelle, your family. That's why this is hard." Boom. There it was. The hook. The company's evolving. We need fresh blood in compliance, someone with external perspective. Effective immediately. I didn't flinch. In the first timeline, I'd begged, tears streaming, promising to adapt. This time, I nodded, slow and deliberate. "I get it, Marcus. Times change. But before I go, can we walk through the manual one last time? Make sure the transition's smooth. I wrote it, after all." His smile faltered, just a flicker. "Gotcha. The manual? Sure, why not?" He buzzed Lena for copies, and as she scurried in, I caught the first whiff of his panic. The way his fingers drummed the desk, the slight sheen of sweat on his upper lip. We pored over pages, me pointing out clauses with feigned nostalgia. "Remember this one? Section 4.2, full disclosure on offshore transactions. Ironclad, right? Saved us during the 22 audit." He chuckled, too loud. "Yeah, your baby. Genius stuff." But his eyes darted to his monitor, where I knew. From memory, he was pulling up dummy ledgers. I let it hang, wrapping up with a handshake that lingered just long enough to make him squirm. "Thanks for everything, Marcus. I'll clear my desk." Down in the bullpen, my corner cubicle felt like a war zone already. Colleagues averting eyes, the HR drone waiting with my severance packet. 2 weeks' pay, non-disclosure agreement thick as a novel. I signed it with a flourish, pocketing the USB drive of company property that held my entire digital life, including backups of every email thread from our founding days. That night, in my apartment, I cracked a bottle of cheap Merlot and spread it all out. Printouts, laptops, the works. The city pulsed outside my window, fire escapes rattling in the wind. Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon of shadows. Step 1, document. I'd cross-reference every transaction against the manual's rules. Step 2, leak strategically, not to the press, not yet, to the auditors. But first, I needed allies. In my first life, I'd isolated myself. This time, I'd weaponized the network. The next day, I hit the pavement. Coffee with Sarah, my old mentor from Columbia Law, now at a rival firm. Fired? Bullshit, she said over lattes in a Soho cafe, steam rising like secrets. Marcus always was a snake. "Want me to poke around?" "Poke hard," I replied, sliding her a thumb drive. "Start with these." By week's end, whispers rippled through LinkedIn. Annabelle Hayes, compliance whiz, available for consults. I took gigs, freelance audits for startups, building cred while digging deeper into Sterling's underbelly. Marcus, oblivious, partied on. Instagram posts from Hampton's weekends, toasting the future. I screenshotted them all, timestamps aligning with suspicious wire transfers. The betrayal burned hotter with each discovery. Not just embezzlement, but he'd forged my signature on a bogus NDA, shielding a kickback scheme with a Chinese vendor. I'd taken the fall for that in the first life, accused of oversight. It broke me, clients fleeing, reputation in tatters, the cab ride my final, fatal grasp at redemption. 2 months in, the first crack appeared. An internal memo leaked, anonymous, of course, to the board, highlighting discrepancies in Q3 reports. Marcus called me that night, voice oily. "Bell, off the record. You wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you?" I sipped my wine, feet up on the coffee table. "Me? Nah, just tying up loose ends. But hey, if it's about those rules I wrote, maybe someone's finally reading them." Silence, then a forced laugh. "Water under the bridge. Drinks soon. Count on it." Click. The tension coiled like a spring. I knew the audit was coming. SEC mandated after red flags from my leaks. But Marcus? He doubled down, firing off emails to bury evidence, alienating the board with his arrogance. I watched from afar, a ghost in the machine, feeding tips to journalists under pseudonyms. By month 4, the office was a pressure cooker. Colleagues messaged me in panic. "What's happening?" "Marcus is losing it." Lena quit, spilling tea in a tearful DM. "He's been cooking the books since the Series B. Used your manual to loophole it." Validation, sweet and sharp. My first controversial call came then. Do I go nuclear, full whistleblower, tank the stock, cost hundreds their jobs? Or play the long game, let the audit expose him surgically? I chose the knife over the bomb. Hacked into his calendar, old password, his dog's name, predictable prick, scheduling a surprise board review. Planted the seed with a trusted director, feigning concern as a concerned alum. The night before the audit, I couldn't sleep. Rain lashed the windows, thunder rumbling like the cab's last roar. What if I was wrong? What if this second life ended the same? Me, broken on asphalt. But no, fury was my fuel now. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving. I suited up, recorder in pocket, and headed to Sterling. Not as an employee, as a consultant, hired by the board for impartial review. Marcus's face when I walked into that boardroom? Priceless, pale as milk, jaw slack. Ladies and gents, I said, taking the head seat. Let's talk rules. The boardroom smelled of stale coffee and desperation. The long oak table scarred from years of deals struck and backstabbed. 12 suits around it. Venture capitalists with Rolexes glinting under the fluorescence. A couple of token diversity hires nodding along. And Marcus at the far end, his tie askew like a noose half-tied. I'd timed my entrance perfectly, heels echoing off the marble as the projector hummed to life with my slides. First one, the manual. My magnum opus, page 1, bold letters, Compliance Framework version 2.0, authored by Annabelle Hayes. Murmurs rippled. Annabelle, the one who. Yes, I cut in, voice steady as steel. The one who wrote the rules Marcus Hale swore by when he fired me 3 months ago. Funny how those rules are suddenly relevant now, with the SEC breathing down your necks. Marcus shifted, clearing his throat. Belle, this is irregular. The board hired you for a consult, not a TED Talk. I smiled, thin and sharp. Irregular? Like signing my name to a falsified vendor contract, Marcus? Or routing 1.2 million through a Cayman front disguised as marketing incentives? Gasps. I clicked to slide 2. Timelines, red arrows linking his emails to bank statements I'd subpoenaed through Sarah's firm. Legally, of course, under the guise of a civil suit I'd quietly filed. The room erupted. A silver-haired VC, Harlan from Apex Capital, slammed his palm down. Explain this, Hale. Now. Marcus's charm cracked like cheap plaster. It's a misunderstanding. Offshore consulting, standard practice. Annabelle's twisting it. Twisting. I leaned in, eyes locked on his. Section 7.1, paragraph 3. All international transactions exceeding $50,000 require dual signature approval and IRS Form 5472 filing. I approved nothing. You forged it. Proof flashed up, side-by-side signatures, mine elegant loops, his a sloppy facsimile from a $20 online service. Lena's DM had been gold. She'd scanned the originals before bolting. He sputtered, face reddening to the shade of a stoplight. This is libel. You're bitter. Bitter. Laughter bubbled up, genuine and cold. You buried me, Marcus. Leaked my psych eval to the Times. Called me unstable after you pushed me out. I lost everything. Career, health, my goddamn life. The room froze. I hadn't meant to say that last part, but it slipped, raw as the rain that night. They didn't know about the crash, not the full story. But the implication hung heavy. This woman before them was forged in fire. Harlan called a recess, herding Marcus into a side office. I stayed, fielding questions from the board, quiet ones, probing. How long have you known? What else is he hiding? I doled out crumbs. The Chinese kickbacks, ties to a shady crypto exchange that had collapsed in scandal last year. By the time they reconvened, the tide had turned. External auditors from Deloitte arrived unannounced. My anonymous tip funneled through a burner account. The next hours blurred into forensic dissection. Laptops synced, ledgers poured over, my manual the Rosetta Stone decoding their sins. Marcus tried bluster, then please, we're a family here. But the numbers didn't lie. $4.7 million total, laundered through 3 shells. Enough to trigger federal probes, tank the valuation. As the sun dipped toward the Hudson, casting the room in bloody orange, Marcus cornered me in the hallway. Reeked of scotch, eyes wild. What do you want, Annabelle? Money? A job back? Name it. I straightened my jacket, inches from his flushed face. I want you to feel what I felt. Alone. Exposed. The board's voting tonight. Your ouster. But that's just the appetizer. He grabbed my arm, fingers digging like claws. You bitch. This is my company. I whispered, twisting free. Security, tipped off by Harlan, hauled him away, sputtering threats. The elevator ride down was euphoric, city lights smearing like victory confetti. But revenge? It hollows you. That night, alone with takeout Thai and a stiff gin, doubts crept in. Had I gone too far? The layoffs would hit hard. Good people, collateral in my war. Sarah called. SEC's involved. Hill's done. You. Free, I said. But was I? Weeks turned to a frenzy. The audit report dropped like a bomb. Front page Wall Street Journal. Sterling Ventures founder embezzles millions. Ex-compliance chief exposes fraud. My name in bold, not as victim, but avenger. Offers flooded in. Head of ethics at Goldman, partner track at a boutique firm. I picked none, launching my own consultancy. Hayes Compliance, specializing in second chances. Marcus? Indicted, out on bail, his Hamptons pile foreclosed. He texted once, you win. But you destroyed us all. Delete. Yet the ghosts lingered. Dreams of the cab, blood bubbling, his voice on the radio, tragic loss of a valued colleague. I dove deeper into the betrayal's roots, hiring a PI on retainer. What I uncovered next, a twist that curdled my triumph. It started with an old email chain, buried in the backups. Our founding days, Brooklyn loft, pizza boxes, and whiteboards. Marcus pitching the vision, disrupt the banks, bell. For the little guy. But threaded in replies, redacted attachments, hints of a bigger player. The PI dug. Marcus wasn't the mastermind. He was the front for Victor Lang, a hedge fund titan with SEC slaps from the '08 crash. Victor had bankrolled Sterling, but with strings, launder his dirty trades through our platform. Marcus skimmed to stay loyal, but when I tightened the rules post-launch, it pinched Victor's flow. The cab crash? No accident. PI found a witness. The cabbie, bribed to swerve near a construction site. Paid by a shell tied to Lang Holdings. Marcus hadn't ordered it, too squeamish, but he'd known, confessed in a drunken voicemail the PI uncovered from a deleted cloud backup. Victor says it's cleaner this way. Loose ends, babe. Rage reignited, hotter than before. Victor Lang, Silver Fox, TED Talk darling, untouchable. His empire dwarfed Sterling's, private jets, political donations, a penthouse atop One Vanderbilt. Taking him down? That was the real game. Controversial? Hell yes. It meant infiltrating his world, risking everything I'd rebuilt. My second big call. Go public with the crash link? No. Too messy, lawsuits flying. Instead, embed. I finagled an invite to a gala at the Met, courtesy of a board contact. Black gown, diamonds on loan. I slipped through velvet ropes like a shadow. Victor held court by the Egyptian wing, champagne flute in hand, laughing with senators. Our eyes met across the crowd. He knew me from the headlines. Approached with a smile like polished ice. Ms. Hayes, the whistleblower herself. Sterling's canary. More like the architect, I replied, clinking glasses. You should read the manual sometime. Saves headaches. His laugh was genuine, appraising. Feisty. Join my team? I need someone who writes unbreakable rules. Hook, line. I played coy, weeks of lunches at Le Bernardin, him dangling carrots, equity, influence. All while my PI and Sarah mapped his web, offshore trusts, bribed regulators. The deeper I went, the uglier. Victor's fund had tanked retirements in '08, suicides in the wake, covered with NDAs and payoffs. One night, post-opera at Lincoln Center, he dropped the mask. Lincoln Tunnel traffic crawling, his driver idling. You know, Annabelle, Marcus was weak. You're steel. But steel bends under pressure. His hand on my knee, testing. I let it linger, then removed it gently. Pressure's my specialty, Victor. Back home, nausea hit. Was I becoming them? Seduction as strategy, gray area, ethically murky. But necessity, right? The board at Hayes Compliance murmured, clients wary of my high-profile past. Revenue dipped, I ignored it. Crescendo built. I planted the bomb. Altered docs in Victor's system, backdoored via a junior analyst I'd charmed, consensual, boundaries firm. When the next audit hit, mine, consulted, they'd unravel to the core. But twist, Victor suspected. A tail on my block, black SUV idling. Paranoia peaked. I carried mace, slept with lights on. The gala eve, rain sheeting the city like my first death, I confronted Marcus in a dive bar off Wall Street. He looked wrecked, gaunt, unshaven, nursing a bud. You, he spat. This you're doing? Us. I corrected, sliding into the booth. Victor's using you as meat shield. Still. He deflated, spilling. The crash order, Victor's rage at my interference. I didn't want it, Belle. But he owns me. Pity flickered, then died. Help me end him. Testimony, clean slate. Eyes haunted. Deal. Dawn of reckoning, Victor's audit day. I sat in the observer's chair, heart thundering as spreadsheets bled red. His face, when the Cayman links surfaced? Apocalyptic. This is sabotage. Accountability, I countered, voice echoing. Feds waited outside, tipped by Marcus's pre-recorded confession. As cuffs clicked, Victor lunged. You think you win? I'll bury you. But I was already gone, elevator plummeting to freedom. The fallout from Victor's arrest hit like a nor'easter. Headlines screaming fintech fraud ring busted. Hedge fund titan in chains, my name woven through like a scarlet thread. CNN looped footage of the raid. SWAT in tactical vests storming his Vanderbilt penthouse. Victor in silk pajamas, snarling at cameras. Sterling's stock cratered 40%, but Phoenix-like, it rose under new management. Me, interim compliance czar, board's olive branch. Offers tripled. I turned them down, funneling energy into Hayes compliance. Clients flocked, startups terrified of the next scandal, banks seeking my battle-tested manual. But victory tasted like ash. Nights blurred into therapy sessions. Dr. Elena, a no-nonsense shrink in a Chelsea brownstone, unpacking the crash's trauma. You died, Annabelle. That's not metaphor. Flashbacks ambushed, tires hydroplaning, dashboard shattering, Marcus's voicemail echoing. Loose ends. I'd avenged it, sure, but the hole? It gaped wider. Controversy brewed next. A Times op-ed, penned by a conservative pundit. Hayes the hero or homewrecker? Vigilante justice in the C-suite. They painted me as ruthless, collateral damage be damned, hundreds jobless from Sterling's purge. Protests outside my office. Pink-slipped workers chanting blood money. I faced them once, mic in hand from the stoop. I didn't break the system. I fixed a crack. Claps mixed with boos, social media ignited. Annabelle Audit trending with memes of me as a corporate Grim Reaper. The real gut punch. Marcus. Post-deal, he vanished, relocated under witness protection, new identity courtesy of the DA. A postcard arrived. No return. Thanks for the second chance. Don't waste yours on hate. Hate? It had rebuilt me. But doubt wormed in. Had I spared him out of mercy, or to twist the knife slower? Enter the next layer, my own secrets unearthed. Digging Victor's empire, the PI uncovered a file on me. Not just professional dossiers, but personal. Photos from college. Me at a frat party, hazy with Jager bombs. A bad decision with a TA that could have derailed law school. Victor's leverage? Blackmail fodder. Held in reserve if I ever crossed him. But the twist? Marcus knew. Had known since year one at Sterling. Using it to keep me in line, subtle digs. We all have skeletons, Belle. The betrayal deepened. Not just professional sabotage, but emotional puppeteering. He'd played the mentor while hoarding my shame. Rage morphed to resolve. I sued, defamation against the leakers, Victor's PR firm, invasion of privacy. Courtroom in Foley Square became my coliseum. Me on the stand, voice cracking as I detailed the forgery, the crash's shadow. Jury awarded millions, but the win felt hollow. Headlines shifted to victim or vixen. Hayes sues for silence. Feminists rallied. Incels trolled. America loved the drama, hated the mirror. Decisions piled, each grayer. Do I expose the TA incident myself, own it? Rip the scab. I did, in a TEDx talk at NYU. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the rule I wrote for myself. Applause thundered, but backstage, tears came. Dr. Elena called it progress. I called it survival. 6 months post-audit, the city simmered into summer. Humid nights on fire escapes. Iced coffees sweating on park benches. Hayes compliance boomed. Team of 5 now. All women I'd mentored from the trenches. We audited a unicorn startup, uncovering minor fudges. I handled it soft. No firings, just reforms. Teach, don't torch. I told my junior, Mia, over rooftop margaritas. She grinned, young and fierce. You're rewriting the game, boss. But Victor's ghost haunted. From Rikers, he smuggled letters, smudged ink on legal pad. You think cuffs end me? My web's wider than you know. Threats? Or bait? The PI traced ties, donations to DAs, judges golfing at his club. A mistrial loomed, appeals stacked. My controversial play, go rogue. Leak his prison calls, recorded, damning, him bragging to inmates about fixing witnesses. Ethical, gray as fog. Legal? One-party consent again, but prisons? Dicey. I hesitated, gin glass trembling on my balcony. The skyline mocked me, towers I toppled, rebuilt. Call Sarah, do it. For the crash. Upload anonymous to WikiLeaks fintech drop. Boom. Calls exploded. Prosecutors scrambling. Victor's appeals crushed. He pled out, 25, to life. Elation crashed into isolation. Friends drifted. Too intense, they said. Dates fizzled. You're intimidating. One night, scrolling X, formerly Twitter, a thread caught me. What if Annabelle Hayes is the real villain? Stirring scandals for clout. Replies vicious, gold digger, fame whore. I slammed the laptop, chest tight. The cab's horns blared in my ears. Rock bottom, a panic attack in Whole Foods. All's blurring, strangers staring. Dr. Elena prescribed leave. I ignored it, burying in work. Then Mia knocked sense. You're human, Annabelle, not a machine. We hiked the High Line that weekend, weeds pushing through concrete like hope. The rules you wrote apply to you too. Shift. I dated, slow, a barista named Theo with tattoos and a laugh like summer. Therapy stuck, boundaries hardened. Victor's trial wrapped, guilty on all counts, me testifying via video, voice steady. Marcus surfaced in a deposition vid, clean-shaven, broken. Our eyes met through the screen. He mouthed sorry. I nodded once. Closure? Close enough. Yet the final twist loomed, buried in Victor's seized files. A DNA report, sealed. Curiosity killed. Opened it in Dr. Elena's office, hands numb. Positive match. A daughter, 18 months old, hidden in a Boston trust. Victor's? No, mine. From a forgotten fling during Sterling's crunch. Embryo banked anonymously. His gift twisted into leverage. He'd known. Dangled it as adoption bait if I pushed too hard. Horror, then fury. But also, a spark. I claimed her. Evelyn, tiny fists waving in a foster photo. Custody battle loomed. Victor's lawyers snarling from bars. Controversial? Adopting my bio kid from a monster's web? America would feast. Headlines of scandal reborn. I fought. Courts. Experts. Mia as character witness. Theo held my hand through depositions. Evelyn came home on a crisp fall day, leaves swirling in Central Park. Her eyes, mine, stormy gray, locked on as I whispered, I've got the rules now. For us. Evelyn's first word was mine, gurgled over mashed peas in my sunlit kitchen, tiny finger jabbing a spoon like a scepter. I laughed, tears pricking. The city hum a distant lullaby through the cracked window. Motherhood in the maelstrom. Diapers amid depositions. Board calls silenced by cries. The custody war raged. Victor's estate lawyers painting me as unfit, the vengeful whistleblower who'd abandoned her. Tabloids devoured it. Fintech fury mom. Baby or bait. Protests swelled outside family court. Rainbow flags clashing with suits. My counter? Transparency, brutal and bare. A memoir pitched to Knopf. Rules of ruin. A second life. Ghost-ridden in stolen hours. Theo reading drafts by lamplight. It spilled everything. The crash's void. Marcus's shadow. Victor's venom. Controversial clauses? The gray zones I owned. The leaks. The seduction play. The kid hidden like contraband. Vengeance isn't clean, I wrote. But neither is survival. Offers poured. Oprah interview. Podcast circuits. I picked sparingly, funneling proceeds to a foundation. Hey, second chance, scholarships for compliance vets blacklisted like me. Mia ran ops, expanding to DC, auditing lobbyists' slush funds. Were the new rules, she'd say, high-fiving over Zoom. Marcus reemerged, uninvited. A coffee shop in the village, him in a hoodie, gray at the temples. Heard about the kid. Congrats. Awkward sip of espresso. I was wrong. All of it. Forgiven. I arched a brow. Evelyn cooing in her carrier at my feet. Not asking that. Just. Closing the loop. He slid an envelope. Old photos. Us in the loft. Pizza, grease, and dreams. Burn him if you want. I didn't. Framed one on my desk. Reminder of what Sterling could have been. Victor's appeal hearing was spectacle. Brooklyn federal court packed. Cameras barred, but sketches viral. I testified last. Evelyn with a sitter. Voice echoing off wood panels. He didn't just steal money. He stole lives, mine included. Jury deadlocked once. Retrial crushed it. Life, no parole. His glare from the dock? Defeated, human at last. Post-verdict, the world shifted. Hayes compliance went national, manual license to the SEC as a training Bible. I keynote Davos. Irony thick as Swiss fog. On ethical disruption. Theo proposed on the Brooklyn Bridge. Ring simple silver, wind whipping our scarves. Second chances, right? Wedding small, rooftop in Williamsburg. Mia officiating, Evelyn flower girl in a tutu. Vows traded with city lights as witness. I rewrite the rules with you. But by Kitch's shadow lingered. A year in, Evelyn's fever spiked. Meningitis scare, hospital beeps echoing the cab's horns. I paced pediatric ICU, Theo's hand anchor. Tests clear, but the fear? It carved deeper. Dr. Elena. Trauma echoes. Right through it. The memoir dropped one, backlash fierce. Cancel Annabelle trending, calls of profiting off pain. I faced a Senate hearing, grilled on vigilante ethics. Rules protect, I said unflinching. But people enforce them. Applause split the chamber. Bill passed. Whistleblower Protection Act. Hayes Clause mandating psych support. Evelyn's third birthday. Park picnic, balloons tangling in oaks. She toddled to me, arms up. Mama rules. I scooped her, heart full. The best one, love fierce, fight fair. Years blurred. Hayes a powerhouse, me graying at the temples, lines etching laugh and cry. Marcus? Sober, teaching ethics at a community college. Penance, perhaps. We emailed holidays, tentative bridges. Final twist, quiet as dawn. A letter from Victor, prison stamped. You won. But blood calls. Evelyn's mine too. Tell her when ready. Defiance surged. I burned it, ashes in the Hudson. No by Kitch ending. Life's messier, brighter. I stand now on that 52nd floor balcony. Evelyn on my hip, city sprawling like possibility. The rules I wrote, they saved me. And in this second life, they build worlds anew. The end? Nah, just the hook for what's next.